Hey everyone, this is John Feneck with the Feneck Commodities Report, and with me today is my YouTube partner, Don Durrett, founder of goldstockdata.com. And we've got a guest that we'll be bringing on in just a few minutes from Avanti Gold. Interesting story that Don had brought to my attention. Don, welcome to the show.
Yeah, John, we spoke together at Beaver Creek. I haven't seen the recording. Is it online?
Yeah, so for those of you that want to see Don and I do our interview live, we never script any of this, so it was really natural for us. Precioussummit.com. And then you can search 2025 Beaver Creek presentations. We were on September 9th. We were the second presentation of the conference. Standing room only room. We had some serious players in the room, and Don and I went through a number of stocks in the gold and silver space that we like there. So please check that out. Don, I can tell you, Jesse Day from Commodity Culture and the V-Rich channel. You and I have been doing the V-Rich channel for about a year and a half together now. I just did an interview with him from my hotel room there. It has 40,000 views in 3 days.
Nice.
I'm just blown away because I've done that show for like 3 years. I've never come close to that in 3 days. So there's a tremendous amount of interest in our sector. I wouldn't say all of a sudden, but surely since around August 1st, you and I kind of said that non-farm payrolls miss August 1st, and then the revision down of 258,000 jobs was pretty meaningful to kick things off in our sector and really accelerate the buying.
Well, yeah, it's kind of all about gold, just ripping higher and higher and higher, and silver following it. I mean, silver at 42, gold at 3,700. The margins have gotten so big that it's really difficult to ignore these things. I wanted to say something right off the top. So I posted my notes on my Substack. So if you go to Substack and look for Don Durrett, they're free. You don't have to sign up. You can just click on the article and say no when they want you to join. There's 2 articles in there for Beaver Creek. One was my top picks, and the other one was the honorable mentions. So there's actually 11 top picks and 15, so 26 names there, really, and they're all beautiful stocks. Really, I was really surprised at the value, the unbelievable value that's still out there in the miners. Yesterday, 1911 went up, I don't know, 35%, 40%, depending on which symbol you owned. And I looked at it today, it's still a 30 bagger. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Now, it's still a 30 bagger at $5,000 gold, and they do what we expect them to do, which is expand production from 70K to 120K, which I expect them to do. But that's just one example. There was many at Beaver Creek that were really, really nice looking stocks at this valuation. I'm really surprised that we're so early, basically.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when you look at 1911 gold, that's AUMBF in the States. You and I had pointed out when we interviewed Sean, gosh, about 6 to 9 months ago, that the market cap was a 20th or a 30th of what it was in 2011, 2012. So it's like, we're not suggesting it's getting to $1 billion valuation, this year or even next year. But we're saying, at 20, 30, $50 million value, market caps, these things are still just unbelievable values.
Absolutely.
So, Don, I don't want to do too much macro today. I want to give Sir Sam Jonah an opportunity to come on and discuss Avanti Gold with us. I wrote down the ticker here for people in the U.S., and of course, we'll post it. AVTGF in the States. Sir Sam Jonah's got a really interesting background in mining, and we'd love to hear from him. So if you could come on screen, Sam, that would be great.
Welcome, Sam.
Thanks, John. Thanks, John. What a pleasure. Well, I'm sure you know my background, but just for your listeners or viewers, I think just a quick one. I was for many years the chief executive of Ashanti, and we merged with Anglo Gold Ashanti and became Anglo Gold Ashanti, and I became the executive president. I had to then relocate from Ghana to South Africa, where I became co-chief executive and ran the company until I had a number of opportunities to join the junior miners mining space as chairman of a number of these companies. And I did that. And so in the process, I came across several opportunities in the Congo and indeed the rest of Africa. So I've had Congolese experience, extensive Congolese experience. And in fact, specifically, when one of the companies that got me to take an early retirement from the corporate world was Moto. At that time, when I joined Moto was only about 700,000 ounces in resource. And using my friend's expression, Robert Friedland, drill, baby, drill. We had rigs everywhere drilling. And now, as you know, Moto Mine, which has been in production for maybe more than since the late 90s, is now one of the world's biggest gold mines. I mean, one of the biggest Barrick and Anglo gold mine. So it is a fascinating deposit. But even if I say so, I was invited to become chairman of Avanti, and I was attracted by the sheer prospectivity of the geology. I mean, I was very excited about Moto when I was approached, but I'm even more excited about Avanti. The only difference here is that at the time when I was approached to become the chairman of Moto, there was no instability in that part of the Congo. Now there is instability overall in the Congo. But the good thing is that the United States is committed now through Trump in investing in security in the Congo to the extent that he's brokered a peace between Rwanda, which supports the rebel movement, and the Congo. And indeed, the two presidents, Tshisekedi and the Rwandan president, have been invited to come to the White House for them to actually patch up and break bread and start a peaceful process going forward. Now that gives us a lot of assurance, a lot of satisfaction, because as I was saying, I've been around the block many times, but I can tell you, Avanti's geological prospectivity is by far one of the very best that I have known. They are running about 55 kilometers, and along the 55-kilometer strike length, you have historical discoveries along the way, even when the gold prices were very, very low. Now with gold prices being where they are, I mean, I think that you turn out this will be a mega ounces property. At the moment, just scratch the surface, they have 3.1 million ounces in resource. But I can tell you, this will come in multiples once we start drilling. And so I'm very, very excited about it. We have a very solid board, very solid board indeed. Swapan is acting chief executive now. He's been associated with the company for quite a while, and he's an excellent pair of hands. And then we've got Terry. We've got a number of people who, have had useful experience. Martino, the CFO, he invested, and he has about 9.9% of the company. Terry Holloman. Terry was chief executive of a $1 billion Resolute Mine. He's also on board. We've got Martin on board. He was chief executive of London controlled Sanu Mine Gold. We've got John Hill, former vice president. He used to work for me. Anglo Gold Ashanti is on board. We've got Mata Batuma, former chief executive, managing director for BHP in the Congo. We've got David Renner, the guy who used to work for me. He built the Geita mine in Tanzania from scratch. And Geita is one, if not the best, the biggest gold mine in Africa, a surface mine. It will be one of them anyway. So we have a very solid team, handling this at the board level. And I think we've got a sufficient, highly experienced geologists also, and we are adding to the numbers so that we get to site as quickly as possible. Yeah, so I'm very, very excited, Don, to tell you this. As I said, I've been around the block, but if you were to ask me how many such opportunities have I seen, I would say that this will rank very, very high of the fantastic prospectivity that I see. Yeah. And as I said, the US initiative would totally de-risk this particular project, and then maybe the full potential then will be appreciated.
Sam, perhaps I can just jump in with a couple of questions and then I'll turn it over to Don. So you've mentioned now a couple of times about Trump and the U.S. initiative. What is the timeline for this in your view?
It is, well, the U.S., Trump has invited the presidents of Rwanda and DRC to the White House. There's been an initial peace framework, which the foreign minister signed on to, and he's want to make quite a big thing out of the two presidents coming. They've been at war for years. And so I think that, and it's within the next few weeks, he announced that they are coming to the White House. And we've seen early signs that, but let me put things in context, John. Where we are not in the rebel area.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is fine. But obviously, if the whole place is at peace, then we will benefit. But we are not in the rebel area. So in terms of, for me, what I found even more exciting was the fact that the U.S. government is pledged to set up a base not too far from where we are. Now, you can't have it better than that if the U.S. commits to build a base in a relatively short period to guarantee the peace. Because don't forget, the U.S. has a special interest, and the interest is that they want the critical minerals. So they're doing everything to ensure that there is peace. Because if you're talking about critical minerals in the world, I mean, the number one will be Congo. Okay, I mean, the Chinese have asked around the place, but the U.S. is playing catch up, and they want to do this by ensuring that areas which clearly are unsafe are made safe so that U.S. companies can move in there.
Makes sense. Okay. And you said you have extensive experience in the Congo. So how many years would that be?
Oh, I took Ashanti to the Congo as far back as 1992. And so I've been associated with big companies, small companies. I just mentioned Moto, but there are a number of small gold, copper companies which I've been associated with in the past. Yeah.
Great. I just had one more, and I'll turn it over to Don. So you mentioned the board. Very impressive resumes there. Does the board own a lot of the shares? And can you talk a little bit about the share structure, please?
Hi, John. Don, I'm the interim CEO at Avanti Gold.
Hi.
I'll join in with Sir Sam in case if any of the technical questions, financial questions come up. As you saw on the press release, there's 9.9% held by one of our advisors, Martino, who's one of our strategic advisors on the board. Between the board and the management, it's not a big chunk, but I don't have exactly the numbers because we also had some other recent private placements that we've done with
Okay.
and board has participated. But it's between the people we know and the investors that we have associated with. I think we have a decent chunk of percentage of ownership that we control.
Okay, so when you look outside of the board and management to other institutions, if you will, would you say that maybe 30% plus of the float is in good hands?
Absolutely, for sure.
Okay, good. Don, if I'll turn it over to you for a few questions.
Yeah, there's a little bit of noise in the background here, but hopefully it'll go down.
It's not bad.
The first thing that I wanted to mention was your symbol in the U.S. is trading in the pinks, the AVTGF. In July, the OTC is now offering a new symbol called OTCID, which is very affordable. So I've been recommending it to companies. If you switch to OTCID, it's going to be much more, accessible to investors. They're not going to be like myself. I won't buy anything in the pink. But you change it to ID and I'll buy it. But we can buy it in Canada on AGC, which is fine. So I thought I would start off with that. Second of all, your valuation. You have 3 million ounces in the ground. Listening to Sam, I think it's going to 10. So that means you're trading at $3 an ounce in the ground. So even if Sam's off a little bit, it's $5 an ounce in the ground. so you got a 20 bagger if it goes to 100, but with dilution, probably a 10 bagger, which is So yeah, it's very cheap. So your team, this is a question for you, Sam. So are you an exploration team, or are you a company that's going to build and operate this mine?
I think that more the latter. I mean, we will do as much exploration as possible, but we want to go into commercial production within a relatively short period.
Okay, so if that's the case, that makes your company a 50 bagger or a 100 bagger, because the value of the gold in the ground will go from $3 to $500.
Yeah.
That's what it'll do, right? I mean, if you're
Yeah.
a producer, it'll be worth somewhere between, if we get up to the gold prices I'm expecting, $5,000 gold, you're going to have huge margins, right? $3,000 margins. If you have a $3,000 margin, your reserves are going to be worth at least $500, right?
Yeah.
So the upside here is very impressive, very exciting. I don't own the stock, but the answer that you just told me, that you'll probably pivot to development, that gets me really excited.
Oh, yeah, very much so. Very much. I mean, that's why we brought, for instance, David Renner, who recently joined the board. I mean, David was my special assistant. And then we found Gator. Gator had 400,000 ounces in resources. And I called David, I said, go to Tanzania, do the exploration, or open this mine. And we ended up with more than 15 million ounces. The mine is one of the biggest gold producers in the world. And David is on the board. So we brought him not because of, he's not a geologist, he's a builder. So that's why we brought him on board.
Okay, as far as raising money, your board, is your board, this is a tough question for you to answer publicly, but I'm going to put pressure on you to do it. So when you go to raise money, do you think in terms of how high do we go before we hurt our shareholders? Do we do 10%, 15, or 20? And do we do a full warrant? So tell us how you feel on that.
Well, I think in the main, we don't want to take money when we don't need it. You know, I mean, we want whatever money we take, we want it to go to the ground, because we want to make sure we realize the full potential of this deposit as quickly as possible. That means that we'll be quite judicious in when coming to the market to raise money, because we don't want to, as it were, we have a strategy, we have an exploration program linked into mine development program and all of that, which we will share with the market soon. And that means that we have to raise money to do it. We want to make sure every dollar that goes in enhances value. So we just don't want to go on a splash, just go into the market because we think that we've got a very exciting property to be raising money when we don't need the money. Everything that we do will go straightly to meet the strategic objectives that we have, which will be reflected in our exploration and development program. I don't know whether that answers the question. Swapan, you can answer.
Yes, sir, Sam. Can I just add that, Don? Good question. One of the things that the board and the senior management has been looking at for the last couple of weeks is the warrants. You know, there's a bunch of warrants that are in the money, and there's a lot of expression of interest that that money would come in. So that'll, go up to $2 million of warrant exercise money that would come in. So that's our first step. We want to make sure that when Sir Sam talks about judicially spending the money, we want to make sure that money is properly used for allocating for the security issues there, and also some initial drilling, and get some more numbers out, and then look at the strategic in terms of the next 6 months to 1 year. So it's going to be a 6 months to 1 year plan. We're not going to be doing a 2-year plan right now. So there'll be a phased financing. And I also want to address, Don, one of your comments earlier. We are absolutely acknowledging that about the OTCQ pink issues. So we have started the process of listing, getting the OTCQB listing, and also the DTC process. As you know, it takes a little bit of time, but those have been started. The initiations have been started. So hopefully, if everything goes well, maybe in a month or two, we should have a proper listing on the OTC. You're on mute.
Don, you're on mute. There you go.
Yeah, I've been muting and unmuting because of the noise. The timing wasn't good. So I just want to do one follow-up on dilution, on share dilution. I like companies that do 10% or less with a half warrant. I don't like 15s with fulls or 20s with fulls. So is it, am I going to get lucky? Are you going to do 10% with halves, or are you now? Well, I'm not talking about building. I'm talking about drilling for the next 2 years, 3 years. When you go to do a drilling program, are you guys going to be a little restrained and say, okay, we're just going to do a 10% and half warrant? Are you going to do full warrants and 15, 20%?
I can answer that. Don, I think all your questions are valid, but at this stage, I don't think we've kind of finalized on what it is going to be. But at the end of the day, even if it's a warrant, I mean, we want to make sure that it's priced significantly higher than the market price, and with a short leash, so that we don't have a hangover for 5 years and 3 years and that kind of stuff. So that'll be the way we would structure it. Maybe a shorter time period with a much higher, significantly higher strike price.
What I'm not hearing, this is why I'm pressing you guys on this. I mean, the only thing that's going to reduce my upside, because I believe gold prices are going higher, and I believe Sam's right, he's going to find a lot of gold. So the only thing that's going to reduce my upside is dilution, share dilution. I'm not really hearing from you. We're not going to do full warrants, Don. We're going to try to do halves. So that says to me that full warrants are totally on the table for you guys. Is that correct?
We don't plan to be using warrants or we need to raise enough money for drilling. That is the key focus, rather than warrants or half warrants. Yeah.
But yeah, well, like I said, sorry to cut you off, but like I said, I'm absolutely happy with 10% dilutions at half warrants. If you do 10% with halves, nobody cares. Your share price isn't going to go down very much. Very little pain for shareholders. It's when you do 15 at fulls that we get whipsawed lower.
Sure.
So that's a really important point for a company like you. But yeah. It looks like a really good story. I'm glad you guys came on. I recommend everybody goes to their website and look at the company presentation and get a feel for, their drill holes. They got a 55-kilometer strike, which is very exciting. So I don't own it, but I don't own anything in the DRC. But this one's pretty tempting.
So Don, yeah, we both don't have a ton of experience in there. One of the things that I think that needs to be said for investors that will help is the OTC, QB, and QX market. I've actually helped a lot of international companies with that process, saying, hey, why are you doing these conferences when you can spend 50 or 60 grand and get a really good listing for the US market with Trump in office, right? Like, this is definitely something that they sound like they're working on. The DTC eligibility is also important because a lot of my clients, like you and I, Don, are both at Fidelity. We have multiple accounts, but we do work on Fidelity quite a bit as a platform. And they will hit you with a $50 fee to buy and sell a stock like this unless it is DTC eligible. So it does discourage people from putting in orders if they want to put 3-5 grand in and just watch it for a while. It's not as easy to do at Fidelity, at least, and some of these firms like Schwab are the same way.
Yeah, I think OTCID does make them DTC eligible, and it's very affordable.
Okay.
And so the difference between a pink and an OTCID is that pinks, they are not authorized by the company. The company doesn't have anything to do with it. And so when they do OTCID, that means they have to proactively request it. And so if you see that, and they're DTC eligible, and so it's very affordable. So I think over the next year, I think most of these Canadian juniors will do the OTCID once they find out how easy it is to do and how affordable it is to do. I think it's a game changer and for Canadian stocks that are currently pinks and Australian as well.
So I was interviewed by Kiko on September 11th by Paul Harris, who you've met before, Don. And Paul threw me a curveball and said, hey, did you hear today that Newmont is delisting from the TSX? And I had not heard that because you and I were in about 30 meetings in 3 days. But man, I commented on it and said, look, that's just another indication of how good the U.S. market is right now. I'm not saying that the Canadian market's dead by any stretch. I'm just saying if Newmont the biggest holding in GDX is saying this, juniors should take notice of this, that the U.S. market is on fire right now.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And the reason why they did it is because they no longer mine in Canada. They sold their Porcupine mine.
Right.
And that's a really good point. But I would also say that a lot of these big companies have a lot of hubris. It's like, even though the Canadian market would help them a little bit, it's not enough to get our attention. It's not enough for the money, right? But a lot of that is hubris. And if you look at the size of Canada, right, it's about the size of California, and they just look at it as, the bang for the buck, how much money they have to spend to support that stock in Toronto. But again, we see this quite a bit with companies only supporting one exchange. Fresnillo is a good example. They only support London. They don't support New York. And they don't support Toronto. And so some of these companies, they just don't think they have to. And a lot of it comes down to retail. And a lot of these companies, once they get to like $5 billion, they don't care about retail anymore. The only thing they care about is institutional money. And that's kind of what you're looking at with Newmont. They're like, we don't really care about the retail in Canada, and the institutional money in Canada, they can buy on New York. That's their mentality. But a lot of it is hubris. It's like they're just not concerned about retail. I've been doing this for 20 years, and one of the things I've really noticed is how the smaller companies really care about retail, and and the big companies don't. And a lot of these companies, like good examples like Hecla, they're not even on Twitter. They're not even on it. I mean, you got to be kidding me. That's the kind of hubris that seeps into their culture. Like, we don't care about retail. Institutions aren't on Twitter. Why do we need to be on Twitter, right? So I think that's kind of what Newmont was doing.
That's a good point, Don, because now we're in a different market, right? Like, I'm not saying Hecla needs the help. Their stock's doing quite well this year. But I will say that they are the oldest silver company in the U.S., if I'm not mistaken, and you definitely need to have a presence with silver at 42, right? It's like, come on. Silver at 24, who cares? But like, seriously, we're in a bull market, guys. So I think this was really interesting. We encourage people to go to Avanti Gold's website. Sam Jonah seems to have a lot of experience in the sector, 33 years in the Congo. That's quite impressive. Definitely going to take a strong look at this. Go ahead, Don.
I have a comment. If you're afraid of buying the pinks here, you don't have to worry because they've already started the process. So the symbol will stay the same. It'll just go QB. And so now we can buy it here. Just make sure when you buy it, you don't overpay. So what you want to do is you want to look at the Canadian symbol, and you want to use a limit price that's basically about the same as what is traded in Canada. But so it's okay. So once the symbol won't change, and it'll just turn to QB in the next 2 to 3 months. So if you want to buy it now in the US, it's okay. Just be careful on the premium.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we educate our paid subscribers on, Don, regularly. I show them how to use a currency converter, how to use websites for free that will show them the Canadian bid and ask so that they can do that conversion into US dollars and not get slammed on the trade, because that can add up to hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a month if you're trading. I mean, it really is that crazy, because if you've got a bid at 60 cents and an ask at 70 cents and you get filled at 70 because you're sloppy with your order, the next trade's at 60. It's like it's a huge percentage difference. So great point. And we encourage people to look at both of our websites, FeneckConsulting.com and goldstockdata.com. We're feeling really good about things here. We just came off a fantastic conference that we'll give you guys some more information about. As Don had pointed out on his Substack, he's got 25, 26 names there for you on 2 different lists you can access for free. He was kind enough to say you can do that for no cost. Hey, look, guys, we're in a bull market. Sign up for his services. and go to our website and look at what we have.
I will say this. If you sign up for my Substack, it's only $8 a month. You can attend my live podcast. This is the best deal there is. You can attend my live podcast on Saturday nights and ask me questions directly. How awesome is that?
That is awesome. That is awesome. I love that, Don. All right. Well, thanks a lot for the time, Don. And we appreciate Avanti Gold coming on today. Take a look at their website, guys, and we'll see you soon.